Incredible journey. Discover how a crippled billionaire found love with the doctor who healed him. Jack Hawthorne was once the embodiment of success, a titan of industry who glided through the skyscrapers of Chicago with an energy that could light up the darkest corners of the city. But now, confined to a sleek wheelchair in his expansive penthouse, he felt more like a ghost haunting the life he had lost. The luxurious decor around him, reminders of his past victories, turned into suffocating chains of guilt and regret. Every trophy on the shelf whispered of a glory now extinguished, and every window overlooked a city that moved on without him. His family. They had vanished, leaving him adrift in his sea of despondency, their absence indelible like scars on his heart. As he rolled into the sterile therapy room each day, Jack was shielded by a facade of stubborn pride. Then entered Dr. Emily Carter, her fiery determination slicing through his defenses. Her bright smile felt like sunlight after the longest winter. With roots in a working-class neighborhood, Emily saw not the billionaire but the trapped soul behind the polished exterior. Each session, as she guided him through exercises, they began building a bridge of understanding between their two worlds, her grit and heart against his wealth and despair. Through her eyes, Jack found a glimmer of hope. Yet, the air crackled with the tension of their contrasting lives. Emily's humility and kindness painted a stark contrast against his background of privilege. The shift in their dynamic sparked misunderstandings. As Jack struggled to navigate his emotions intertwined with old biases and new realizations, their budding bond felt both like salvation and a battlefield. Every step he took toward recovery echoed with unanswered questions. Did he deserve her admiration? Could their connection blossom into something profound? Then came the day of his first public outing post-accident. Jack was determined to show Emily how far he'd come. With trembling hands and rising confidence, he attempted to stand, fueled by her encouragement. Success seemed within reach. But, just as the crowd applauded, gravity betrayed him. He stumbled, eyes wide in shock, his heart sinking deeper than the wheelchair's wheels could carry him. The laughter that erupted around him felt like poison, leaving him grappling not just with his physical setback but with the very doubts he'd fought hard to overcome. Could Emily still see him as worthy? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Jack stood at a crossroads, heart pounding, breath shaky. He could feel the weight of his family's expectations clawing at his back. They were already whispering, questioning this bond. Was it real love or merely a means to his recovery? He knew he could either regress into the shadows and succumb to the label society had cast upon him, or he could rise, fueled by Emily's gentle encouragement, striving to reclaim not just his life but his heart as well. As the pressure mounted, Jack's mind raced. The echoes of his past echoed loud, but a soft voice, Emily's voice, beckoned. Could he embrace this chance at love and healing? Would he dare to confront the deep-seated fears that had kept him in isolation? As he mulled over these questions, something stirred within him, a flicker of hope amidst the tempest of doubt. In a world that demanded riches for recognition, Jack was left wondering, could he find value in the love that bloomed in the most unexpected of places, even when the price tag meant nothing? Jack's heart raced as the laughter echoed in his ears, sharp and unforgiving. The weight of embarrassment pressed on his chest like a heavy stone. In that moment, he felt more exposed than ever before. He wanted nothing more than to vanish, to slide back into the shadows from which he had fought so hard to emerge. But Emily's voice broke through the din, cutting through the noise of self-doubt. "Jack, breathe," she called, her eyes focused on him with a fierce intensity. Her hand reached out, steady and calm. For a second, the laughter faded, replaced by the warmth of her presence. He glanced at her, searching for reassurance in the depths of her gaze. She saw his struggle, and somehow, that made him bolder. With a shaky breath, he steadied himself, forcing the sting of vulnerability aside. He couldn't crumble, not now. Not when he had just begun to claim his life back. The audience began to quiet, sensing the emotional tide shifting before them. Jack straightened his spine and pushed through the feelings, determined not to let a stumble define his journey. "I'm still here," he declared, his voice stronger than he felt inside. The crowd shifted, uncertainty melting into tentative applause. Jack's expression softened, he could feel his heartbeat steadying. The important thing was that he wouldn't run, he would face the laughter, the judgment, everything head-on. Emily's smile returned, bright and unwavering. "That's the spirit," she encouraged, clapping her hands. The joy in her eyes rekindled the passion he once had for life and success. Perhaps this moment, awkward as it was, represented a new beginning. He was learning to stand not just for himself, but to take those steps for her as well. Later that day, alone in the quiet expanse of his penthouse, Jack reflected on what had just transpired. He rolled toward the expansive window that showcased the twinkling city lights, an urban tapestry of lives unfolding below. Tension washed over him, mingling with exhilaration. He could sense the dawning realization, overcoming these barriers wasn't just about physical recovery, it was about redefining who he was. After all of it, the businessman, the partner, the man. But the deeper he dove into these reflections, the more elusive answers became. What if healing wasn't merely tied to walking again? What if his real journey was about opening up emotionally? Each revelation left him questioning the nature of his relationship with Emily. Did she see him as he once was, or did she truly comprehend who he could become? Demons of doubt began creeping in again, like shadows in the corners of his mind. Jack yearned for clarity and felt an ache for their bond to deepen, yet the fears of inadequacy loomed ever present. Determined, he reached out for his phone and dialed Emily's number, resolve hardening in his chest. "Can we talk?" he asked, surprised by how steady his voice sounded. "Of course. Is everything okay?" she replied, concern illuminating her tone. Jack inhaled, feeling the weight of possibility. "I think it's time for me to open up about my fears. I want to share this journey with you, fully." He heard a soft sigh of relief on the other end, and a smile tugged at his lips. Just as he believed he could carve a new path, a flicker of excitement burned. Maybe this time, he wouldn't just stumble forward but take steps worth taking. As they arranged to meet the following day, something stirred within him, a sense of bravery edging closer to uncharted territory. What would it take to unveil the depths of his heart? Could he truly find not only love but acceptance, embracing both his strengths and flaws? As Jack hung up the phone, anticipation thrummed through him. Tomorrow held the promise of new beginnings, but would he have the courage to grasp it? The sun dipped low in the sky, casting warm hues across Jack's penthouse. Morning had arrived with a quiet promise, and uncertainty settled into his bones. Today was the day he'd open up, revealing the fears that had haunted him. A fresh breath of determination coursed through him as he dressed, the sunlight spilling in like golden confetti. He tied his shoelaces with careful precision, each knot feeling like a tether to this new path he was about to walk. When he arrived at the cafe where they agreed to meet, the smell of freshly brewed coffee filled the air. Jack settled into a corner table, heart racing beneath the unwrinkled shirt he chose for the occasion. He took a sip of his drink, the bitter warmth spreading through him, grounding him for what lay ahead. With every drop, he reminded himself that today was about connection, vulnerability, and strength. Emily walked in, her light spilling through the door behind her. She looked radiant in a soft blue dress that danced around her knees. Jack felt an unexpected rush of pride swell within him. She waved, her smile infectious. Just being in her presence made the daunting conversation ahead feel a little lighter. "Hey there," she greeted, her voice laced with warmth. Settling into the chair across from him, she leaned forward, searching his eyes. "You look a little serious. What's on your mind?" Jack opened his mouth to respond, but the words tangled, caught between thought and reality. Instead, he took a deep breath, summoning the courage he had felt late last night when he made the call. "It's about my fears, about all of this," he began, gesturing between the two of them. Emily's expression shifted, concern mixing with curiosity. "Whatever it is, I'm here for you." Her words wrapped around him like a comforting embrace, yet they also heightened his anxiety. Would she still see him as the man she believed he could be after this? "It's not just about recovering physically," he said, forcing the words out. "It's more than the steps. I've been thinking a lot about what happened before the accident and who I am now." He paused, steadying himself. "I'm scared that I'm not the same person, that I won't be who you expect me to be." Emily's eyes softened, understanding etched across her face. "Jack, it's okay to not have all the answers. We don't have to rush through this." She reached for his hand, her touch warm and steadying. "It's about growing together, right?" Her response ignited a flicker of hope within him. He squeezed her hand, feeling the connection pulse alive between them, something real, something possible. "I want to grow," he admitted. "But I also fear that I'm a shadow of who I used to be." "Then let us explore that shadow together. Let us figure out who you are now," she said, her voice soft yet firm. "You don't have to face this alone." Tears pricked at the corners of Jack's eyes. He had always been the one to lead, to take charge. This was a new territory where he was at risk of losing himself even more. But with Emily, perhaps he could uncover a tender side, one not defined by his past missteps or injuries, but by his willingness to embrace the present. "You really mean that?" he asked quietly. "Absolutely," she replied, leaning closer. "You're not just a shadow to me. You're more than that. You're brave, and I'm here to learn about the new you. All the pieces, even the broken ones." In that moment, lingering doubts slipped away like autumn leaves falling from a tree. Jack realized he didn't have to be perfect or fully healed to pursue love and acceptance. Perhaps the journey was as important as the destination. As they talked, laughter blended into the conversation, and the atmosphere lightened. Jack felt like they were building something brick by brick, moment by moment, a foundation that would help them both move forward, but beneath this budding connection, a flicker of something darker stirred in Jack's chest. What if he couldn't open up completely? What if he faltered again? As Emily's laughter floated around them, he couldn't shake the feeling that he still had to face more than just his past. As they leaned back from the table, Jack's heart thrummed with a mixture of excitement and fear. The journey had just begun, but as he took in Emily's bright eyes, a seed of doubt planted itself. Could he confront not only his fears but also the truth about what had happened during the accident? Tomorrow, Jack would need to dig deeper into the past, as secrets long buried began to surface. The next morning, Jack woke to the soft light filtering through his curtains, but it did little to lift the weight in his chest. Today felt monumental. He peeked at his phone, the calendar reminding him of his appointment with Dr. Collins. The same doctor who had not only led him through physical rehabilitation but had also perhaps unknowingly become a voice of comfort through the darkest times. That he showered quickly, the hot water washing over him like a cleansing ritual. But as steam filled the room, it couldn't erase the chilling thoughts that lingered. What if being honest about his past unraveled everything? What if the truth proved harder to share than the secrets he kept? He shook his head, trying to dispel the unease. By the time he arrived at the clinic, every step felt like a battle between hope and dread. The sleek glass building held a sense of familiarity, but inside, the sterile walls felt oppressively bright. As he waited in the lobby, Jack's mind ran laps over the scenarios, his heart pounding with each imagined response. "Jack." Dr. Collins entered with her warm smile. Her presence was like a beacon cutting through the self-imposed fog. "It's good to see you. How are you feeling today?" "Hey, I'm okay." He forced a smile. "Just trying to prepare for, well, the next steps, I guess. Let us discuss your progress first and then see how you're feeling about the emotional side. It's all connected, after all." She motioned for him to follow her into the consultation room. As he sat down, he couldn't help but admire her confidence. Dr. Collins radiated assurance, but he felt as if all his fears were laid bare in that little room. Jack's fingers fidgeted, and he barely registered her questions about his physical therapy. Instead, his mind was occupied with the thoughts he had been trying to avoid. Jack. She leaned closer, brow furrowing slightly. You seem distant. Is there something on your mind? Jack exhaled deeply. Actually, yes. It's hard for me to talk about. It's everything about my past, the accident. His voice faltered, and for a moment, he hesitated. I've been keeping it locked up, and I thought I could just move forward without dealing with it. But talking about it is important, she encouraged gently. You don't need to face it alone. He nodded, feeling the stirrings of courage building within him. It's not just the physical struggle, it's like I lost a part of myself that will never come back. I keep thinking about the man I was before. The man who wasn't afraid. Facing fears, Jack, whether they are physical or emotional, leads to healing, but it requires bravery. You are already showing that by even considering this. Her voice was calm, guiding. Jack swallowed hard. And what if I'm not the man you think I am anymore? Or that Emily thinks I am? Let them surprise you. You might be different, but it doesn't mean you're less. You may well be more resilient, more understanding. The wheels in Jack's mind began to turn, clearing the fog of uncertainty. More understanding. Exactly, she smiled. And I truly believe that honesty can pave the way to a more connected life. In that half hour, they dissected his physical recovery and the emotional walls he had built. Each detail he'd feared to share began to lighten the load on his heart. But as the session came to a close, unease crept back in. Thank you, Dr. Collins, he said, standing up. I really needed to hear that. As he walked out, something inside him shifted slightly, the heaviness beginning to lift. There was still a long way to go, but perhaps, just maybe, he could face his past instead of running from it. The sun was dipping low again as Jack made his way back to the cafe, where Emily would be waiting. This time, armed with newfound resolve, he envisioned not just sharing his fears but inviting her into a process of healing together. But still, a nagging thought lingered. What would he reveal? Would the truth tear them apart or strengthen their bond? Jack's heart raced as he stepped inside the cafe. With every glance, Emily's radiant smile felt like the very light he needed. He took a deep breath, ready to dive deeper, knowing that the truth could lead to unexpected outcomes. And though apprehension gnawed at him, it was the sense of possibility that drove him forward. Could what he shared change everything? In that moment, as their eyes met, the answer hung in the air like a promise waiting to be kept. What if revealing everything was the breakthrough they both needed? Jack walked toward Emily, his heart racing yet again, but this time for a different reason. The cafe was buzzing with the midday rush. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee hung in the air, blending with the sounds of chatter and clinking cups. But it all felt dim compared to the light in Emily's eyes. Jack, she said, waving him over. Her smile was a spark, bright, genuine, and it felt like everything he needed to embrace the moment. Hey, he replied, trying to return her enthusiasm. Sorry I'm late. I had a really productive meeting with Dr. Collins. Good. Emily leaned in, her expression inviting curiosity. What did you talk about? He hesitated. Was he really ready to take the leap? She was looking at him with that sparkle, this urging connection that made it hard to breathe. He took a deep breath. Well, we focused a lot on my physical rehab, but we also touched on some emotional stuff, he said carefully. Things about my past that I've been avoiding. Emily nodded, her eyes scanning his face with concern. That's a big step. You know, you can share anything with me, right? Jack's pulse quickened. His mind raced through moments he feared to unveil, moments of vulnerability that felt foreign, yet tantalizingly freeing. Would sharing these stories weave them closer together? Yeah, I know, he said, trying to sound casual. But it's just the accident was hard for me. It wasn't just a physical change, I feel like it transformed who I am. She reached a hand across the table, her fingers brushing against his. Electric warmth shot through him, grounding his fluttering thoughts. Jack, you are still you, she said softly, squeezing his hand. That person you were, he is still in there, just different. And maybe there's a beauty in that difference. Her words washed over him like a bomb, and a flicker of hope ignited. You really think so? I know so, she replied, her tone steady. What makes you, you, is how you come back from this, not just how you were. Jack swallowed hard, encouraged by her faith in him. Maybe he could be brave enough to lean into this moment, to be raw and real. The truth was, he wanted Emily to see him not just the version of himself that he felt was acceptable. I've been thinking about my life, how I approached everything before. There was a real fearlessness I had, and ever since the accident, I've been running from that version of me. What do you mean? It's like I was so focused on moving forward that I forgot how to embrace the person I lost, he explained. I don't want to keep hiding who I am and who I've become. Emily leaned back, considering his words with a serious expression. You don't have to hide anything from me, Jack. Not ever. We all carry baggage, but it's how we choose to deal with it that counts. Jack felt a lump form in his throat. It wasn't just her words, it was the way she spoke, how she believed in him when he struggled to believe in himself. What if I told you everything? The pain, the guilt, would you still look at me the same way? A silence fell between them, heavy with unspoken fears. He saw uncertainty flicker in her gaze but also resolve. Honesty might change things, but I'm not scared of that, Jack. She paused, taking a breath that felt charged with emotion. What scares me is losing you because you're too afraid to share the real you. We can face the hard stuff together. Her unwavering belief fueled a rush of courage. Jack tightened his grip on her hand, breathing deeply, their connection becoming a safe haven. Okay, what if I started with why I was there that day? The accident, what I was running away from or toward, he began, words tumbling out before he could overthink. Suddenly, every secret felt like a pin that could burst this bubble of hiding. But with each revelation, would he risk shattering the fragile space they had created? Emily leaned forward, ready to listen. I'm here for it all, Jack, whatever that means. His heart pounded as he prepared to bare his soul. Would unveiling the truth truly strengthen their bond? Or would the weight of his past push them apart? As he began to speak, the cafe around them faded, and all that remained was the voice of his fears intertwined with a flicker of hope. The journey they were about to undertake wasn't just personal, it was the start of something profound, a journey toward healing together. Yet, there was still one lingering question that hung between them like an unanswered prayer: could they handle the truth? The answer lay ahead, waiting to unfold. Jack took a steadying breath, feeling Emily's supportive gaze fixated on him. It was as if the bustling cafe had completely disappeared, and they were alone in a world forged by shared truths. I was supposed to be at the charity event that day. You know, the one everyone raved about, he started, forcing the words past the knot in his throat. I felt so much pressure to perform, to be that perfect Jack everyone expected. But in reality, I didn't want to go. I was terrified. Emily's brow furrowed. Terrified? Of what? Of being seen, of failing, of not being enough, he admitted. The honesty felt foreign, raw, but necessary. I remember standing at the doorway, feeling like a ghost of who I was supposed to be, trying to convince myself I could pull it off. So, instead of being there for the charity, I drove I don't know where I thought I could escape to. Jack frowned, memories pouring in like waves crashing. But when I lost control of the car, I realized I wasn't just crashing a vehicle. I was letting go of everything I had built my life around: the facade, the image, the expectation. And in that moment, I didn't know if I wanted to survive, or if I was just done. Emily's expression changed, her eyes shimmering with unvoiced sympathy. You were hurting so much back then, and it led you to a place like that? Yeah. I felt trapped, like my life was slipping through my fingers. I thought maybe losing it all was the only way to regain any sense of control. But I was wrong, he said, his heart racing. The tight grip of shame began to loosen, replaced by something lighter relief. Perhaps her hand never left his, and he felt the warmth radiating from her touch, fueling the courage he needed. In the aftermath, I dealt with the guilt of it all. I had nightmares about that day, reliving the crash over and over. The thought of how selfish I was haunted me. You were in a dark place, Jack. It's understandable, she said quietly, her voice soothing. But it's different now. You're here, living, and I think you're beginning to heal. I thought I could bury it all and move forward, but that only left me feeling lonelier. When I met you it felt like you saw right through me, he continued, his breath hitching. You see the real me, and it scares the hell out of me. What if I let you down? Emily shook her head, resolute. You won T. But. She hesitated, searching for words. Have you ever thought that sharing this pain may actually bring you closer to others? It doesn't have to define you, it can be part of your story, yes, but it can also empower you. Jack nodded slowly, the truth of her words resonating within him. I want that. I want to face this instead of running. Then let us face it together. You don't have to do this alone, she said softly. Just like you trust me with your past, I trust you to embrace your future. Her unwavering faith wrapped around him like a lifeline, igniting a flicker of hope. Jack realized that opening up with Emily wasn't about shattering their world, it was about building something lasting, something real. The cafe buzz resumed around them, sirens of coffee machines and laughter drifting as Jack and Emily settled deeper into their moment. For the first time, he felt a piece of himself stepping into the light, as if the weight on his shoulders was beginning to lift. Yet, a flicker of fear crossed his mind. What if he revealed too much? What if the past overwhelmed the hope they were trying to build? As the warmth of the sunlight streamed through the window, he mustered the courage to continue. Well, there's more, he said, voice steady despite the looming uncertainty. The next part of his story echoed in his mind, and he could almost feel it palpable in the air, his darkest truth, the true turning point of his journey. The cafe felt like the perfect stage, and he could sense that Emily was ready for it. But could he even show that side of himself without shattering the bond they had just started to forge? He knew the revelation would change everything, and with a racing heart, he prepared to lay bare the key to his pain. Would it bring them closer, or tear them apart forever? Jack hesitated, the air feeling thick around him as he grappled with the weight of more truth to share. Emily leaned in, her brows slightly raised in anticipation. The cafe buzzed around them, yet all he could focus on was the fear clawing at his insides. After the crash he began, his voice barely above a whisper. I went through a dark period. I didn't just feel lost, I spiraled into a deep depression. It felt like a heavy fog I could never clear. I didn't know who I was anymore. Everyone talked about how I'd be fine, I'd bounce back. But I didn't bounce. I sank. Emily's grip tightened around his hand, grounding him. I remember one night it was like any other. I sat in my apartment for hours, just staring at the wall. No thoughts, no feelings, just numbness. I was drowning in my own mind. And then I considered ending it all. His heart raced, the confession spilling out like a shattered dam. He reveled in the poignant silence, yet dreaded what would come next. I was at the edge, Emily. And just as I was about to take that final step, I heard my mother's voice in my head, telling me to fight. She'd fought for her life and all I could think of was how selfish I was being. Jack swallowed hard, fighting back tears. I wanted to believe that I could rise above it, just like she had when she was sick. It became a turning point. I realized that hurting myself wouldn't erase my pain. It would just pass it on to others. He looked up at her, searching her face for understanding. I couldn't do that. So I stepped back from the brink. Emily's eyes softened, glistening with unshed tears. You're so brave for sharing all of that. But what happened next? How did you find your way out? I started to seek help, he continued, a hint of pride surfacing. Therapy, support groups, anything I could find. Slowly, I learned that it was okay to feel. It was okay to ask for help. I had to discover the Jack that was hidden beneath the rubble. As he spoke, he felt a sense of lifting, the air around him seeming lighter. I realized my wealth and status didn't mean anything if I was a prisoner in my own mind. Emily nodded, her expression steady. And you found your path again? I did, he confirmed, a shy smile creeping onto his face. It started with simple things, going for walks, rediscovering my art. I learned to take baby steps. But I still had a long way to go. That's when I started volunteering with kids, cancer patients specifically. It was therapeutic in ways I couldn't have imagined. Seeing their fight helped reignite my own. I think that's when I really started to feel alive again. He paused, letting the moment hang between them like a fragile thread. But doubt crept back in the vulnerability of exposing so much weighed heavily on him. Yet I still feel like I carry that darkness around as a shadow. It's a part of me, and I worry that one day, you might see it and walk away. Emily's gaze didn't waver. Jack, everyone has shadows. What matters is how we choose to confront them. And you've done just that. I see strength in you, not weakness. The warmth in her words lit something inside him, yet a nagging fear still loomed. But what if this isn't enough for you? What if you wake up one day and realize that loving someone like me it's too much? He noticed a flicker in her expression, hesitation melding with determination. You have to trust, Jack. There is something beautiful about starting from a broken place. If we face it together, it's an opportunity to build each other up, not tear each other down. She didn't flinch. It was as if she had just handed him the missing piece he never knew he needed. Trying to absorb her words, he felt the stirrings of hope ignite yet again. They were both standing on the precipice of something real. But just as confidence began to swell within him, Jack couldn't shake the uncertainty. Emily, I know I'm still figuring this out, and I worry that my past might overwhelm us, he admitted quietly. As she opened her mouth, a loud crash echoed from the cafe entrance, pulling their attention away. A couple of chairs fell over. And startled gasps rippled through the crowd. Jack turned to see what had happened, his stomach dropping. What had interrupted his moment of vulnerability? As they both turned, a familiar face emerged through the doorway, catching sight of Jack and Emily. Jack! His busy, uninvited guest exclaimed. The tension in the air shifted dramatically. Jack felt it in his bones, this unexpected arrival could change everything. Emily's expression morphed in an instant, transitioning from concern to shock as she recognized the newcomer. Jack's heart sank further as he processed the sight of his estranged brother, Ryan, barging into the cafe like a storm. Ryan, Jack muttered, half in disbelief, half in resignation. The world around them faded as every ounce of warmth he felt moments before dissipated. Why are you here? Jack's voice strained as he absorbed the whirlwind of emotions. Frustration battled with a gust of betrayal, a sentiment he had hoped to leave behind. I came to check on you, man, Ryan replied, his tone assertive. You've been out of touch. People are worried. Worried? Or nosy? Jack shot back, the edge in his voice evident. Memories of their last conversation came rushing back, the words that had broken them apart like sharp shards of glass. Emily stood beside him, her fingers still intertwined with his. She seemed unsure of how to handle the sudden shift in energy. Her presence was soothing, yet overshadowed by the familial storm now brewing before them. Let's just talk outside, Jack, Ryan insisted, his gaze unwavering. No. I don't want to talk. Jack's response was instinctive, fueled by a cocktail of anger and exhaustion. The last thing he needed was a confrontation. Not now, not after finally opening up about his struggles. Talk or not, I'm not leaving without a word, Ryan pressed, his voice rising slightly. You can't just shut everyone out. Why don't you understand? I'm trying to rebuild my life. Jack's throat tightened with emotion, his eyes darting from Ryan to Emily and back again. You don't know what I've gone through. You weren't there. Because you pushed me away, Ryan shot back, frustration lining his features. You chose to isolate yourself from the family. Each word struck like a blow, unraveling Jack's renewed sense of purpose. I didn't choose this. It's not that simple. The cafe patron's whispers grew louder, eyes turning toward the growing commotion. Emily squeezed Jack's hand, trying to anchor him in the moment. The world felt like it was closing in as the tension escalated. Jack, let us just step outside for a moment. I promise I'll keep it brief, Ryan said, a touch of softness creeping into his voice, hinting at a sliver of concern buried deep within his bravado. Jack hesitated, the weight of their unresolved issues pressing heavily on his chest. Emily's eyes searched his face, silently urging him to choose the right path. She had stripped away his fears, making him feel safe, and he didn't want to let this encounter derail everything he shared with her. Jack, you deserve closure. Just hear him out, she whispered, her voice steady with reassurance. What if this conversation could actually lead to healing? What if facing his brother could help him face the parts of himself that still felt fractured? Jack's heart raced with uncertainty. Could he open that door, even with the shadows looming? A moment stretched like eternity, and he finally nodded, albeit reluctantly. Fine. But just a few minutes, Jack replied, feeling the adrenaline rush as he stood. He glanced back at Emily, pouring all his unspoken fears into her gaze, his hope that she would still be there when this was over. As he walked toward the exit, anxiety coiled tight in his stomach. Would this conversation bring clarity or more confusion? The door swung shut behind him with a heavy thud, sealing off the warmth of the cafe and the compassion he had felt just moments before. Let us get this over with, he whispered to himself, feeling the weight of every unspoken word hanging heavily in the air. But what was waiting for him on the other side? Was it possible to clear away the years of resentment, or had that ship sailed long ago? As the door swung open, Jack stepped into the unknown, heart pounding, wondering what secrets might be uncovered in those few moments. The moment Jack stepped outside, a rush of cool air struck him, contrasting sharply with the chaotic warmth inside the cafe. He felt exposed, vulnerable under the fluorescent buzz of the streetlights. Ryan stood there, hands shoved deep into his pockets, his posture radiating uncertainty masked by bravado. Jack's heart pounded, each beat echoing the mix of dread and anticipation swirling within him. Let us be real, Ryan began, his voice gruffer than Jack remembered. I'm not here to fight. I just want to understand why you vanished. Jack crossed his arms, bracing against a flood of emotions. Vanished? You make it sound like I'm playing hide and seek. The sarcasm slipped out, sharper than he intended. Ryan flinched slightly, but continued. You know what I mean. One day you were there, and the next, it was like you fell off the face of the earth. Everyone feels it. The words settled heavily between them. Jack could feel the weight of family expectations pressing down, a familiar tension that felt suffocating. What do you want me to say? That I'm sorry for needing space. Space? Ryan echoed incredulously. It's been years, Jack. You didn't just need space, you locked us out. Dad barely knows how to talk about you anymore. Dad? The mention of their father twisted Jack's gut. That's when it all came crashing back, the strained family dinners, the silent treatment that had become their norm. You always act like you're the perfect son. Did you even ask how I was doing before showing up here? Or did you just want to seem like the heroic brother? Ryan took a breath, his anger simmering just beneath the surface. What do you think? I've been by your side since we were kids. I was trying to help until you threw me out. The crowd flowed past them, unaware of the turmoil raging within their small bubble of confrontation. Jack fought to keep his voice steady. "You don't get it. I didn't throw you out, Ryan. I was drowning, and I didn't know how to ask for a lifeline." There was a beat of silence, the world around them fading away as their eyes locked. Something shifted within Ryan. "You had me worried, man. I want to help. But I can't do it alone. I need you to meet me halfway." Anger started to dissipate, replaced by an exhausting sense of longing for reconnection. But Jack's mind raced, conflict swirling like a storm. "You think I'm just going to forget everything? All the hurt?" "No," Ryan replied, his voice surprisingly soft. "But maybe you could start to forgive." Jack stared at him, searching for sincerity. It was there, that glimmer of hope he had almost forgotten. "Forgiveness, it's not easy." "I get it," Ryan said, locking eyes with him. "I've made my mistakes too. But it starts somewhere, right? We can't change the past, but maybe we can build something better." The enormity of the moment pressed heavily on Jack's shoulders. Pain, resentment, hope, all fighting for dominance. Was this the turning point? The beginning of a path he never thought he could take? "Look," Jack finally said, voice wavering, "I don't know if I'm ready. But for you, for the family, I'll try. If you're willing to offer a hand, maybe I can find the strength to take it." The tension in Ryan's jaw relaxed as he nodded, a small but genuine smile breaking through. "That's all I ask. Let us figure this out together." Jack's heartbeat slowed, cautiously optimistic for the first time in a long while. But just as hope began to germinate, he found himself asking a question that lingered, heavy yet necessary. "But what happens if we can't? What if we're too far gone?" Ryan's face turned serious again, the shadows of doubt creeping back in. "Then we keep trying until we get it right. We owe each other that much." As they stood there, uncertainty weaving through the air between them, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the start of something bigger. The deeper question now looming in his mind: what does it really mean to heal, and could they really find their way back to each other? Jack took a step forward, ready to explore this fragile new territory. But would they walk it together? Or would they fall apart again, too afraid to bridge the divide? The world outside the cafe felt different now. The night descended around Jack and Ryan, enveloping them in a cocoon of shifting emotions. Jack inhaled sharply, the cool air filling his lungs with a painful clarity. He was on the brink of transformation, teetering between the shadow of his past and the light he desperately sought. "Let us walk," Jack suggested, seeking to put distance between the confrontation and their conversation. Ryan nodded, and they began to move, side by side but miles apart in understanding. "I know I messed up," Ryan said, glancing sideways at Jack as they walked. "I shouldn't have assumed you'd always want me around, but I thought maybe we could work through this together." Jack remained silent, his mind churning with thoughts. The years of silence were loud in his ears, echoes of missed birthdays, family gatherings empty of his presence. "It's not easy to just pick up where we left off, Ryan. What do you expect from me?" "I expect you to be honest." Ryan's tone sharpened, those familiar family tensions rising again. "You shut us out when things got real. We need to face it together. You can't keep bottling it up." Jack felt the weight of that challenge. "I know I can't. But opening up is terrifying. Everybody sees me as the strong billionaire, the one who has all the answers. But underneath, I'm still unraveling." "Then stop pretending," Ryan urged. "No one can heal alone, and I refuse to let you keep fighting this battle without me." Jack's heart raced. Could he truly lean on his brother, risk revealing the depths of his vulnerability and fear? At that moment, as they turned a corner, laughter erupted from a nearby bar, light spilling onto the pavement. It reminded Jack of carefree days before everything tilted. Yet here he was, navigating the jagged landscape of resentment and unhealed wounds. As they stopped to let a group of customers pass, Jack took a breath. You can go back to pretending, live your life without me. But what if you let me in? We could help each other find a way forward. Jack paused, considering his brother's words. A flicker of hope ignited within him. I'm scared, Ryan. Me too, Ryan said softly, standing taller now, shoulders dropping the pressure of old habits. But I believe we can make it work. I want to reconnect with you, brother. No judgment. Just us. Jack felt the tension in the air shift. Maybe this was how it should have started. As they walked, side by side, vulnerability began wrapping around them like an anchor rather than a burden. Jack knew it was a long road to healing, but tonight could be the beginning. The stars shimmered above, and for the first time in a long while, Jack felt lightness flutter in his chest. They had only taken the first step, but acknowledgement was powerful. The conversation had cracked open the door to something better. As they approached the cafe again, Jack caught sight of Emily still seated inside. Her eyes lifted to meet his, an expression of hope radiating from her. The warmth of her gaze soothed the remnants of tension still lingering in his heart. Do you think she is still there? Ryan asked, sensing the pull of Jack's attention. I hope so, Jack replied, a twinge of anxiety mixing with eagerness. I want her to be. Slowing his strides, they paused at the entrance. Ryan glanced at Jack, a supportive nod affirming their pact. You've got this, brother. With renewed courage, Jack stepped inside, his heart echoing in rhythm with the quiet warmth of the cafe. He moved toward Emily, who stood when she saw him. The moment their eyes met, everything else faded into the background. Hey, she said softly, her voice wrapping around him with an embrace. Hey, he replied, feeling the tension of earlier slip away. How'd it go? She asked, her worries fluttering behind her bright smile. We talked. Really talked. Jack took a moment to collect himself, feeling almost weightless. And I think I can finally begin to heal, with both of you, actually. Emily's eyes sparkled with understanding. I'm proud of you, Jack. That's a big step. It is, he chuckled, his heart swelling with gratitude. I've realized I don't have to carry this alone anymore. Ryan joined the circle, a slight smile cracking his serious demeanor as he met Emily's gaze. I want to be part of this too. We all deserve a chance to figure it out. Jack felt hope blooming, a fragile flower emerging from cracked earth. In that moment, he realized that love wasn't just about finding it in others, but in opening up to help and healing. The three of them stood on the precipice of something beautiful. They had taken the first steps toward mending their fractured connections, and with every leap of faith they took, the shadows of their past began to fade into the background. With laughter in their hearts and vulnerability among them, the doorways to their future swung wide open, inviting possibilities Jack had once thought were out of reach. Together, they could face the unknown, rebuild, and transform their pain into strength. As Jack held Emily's hand, he knew they were embarking on a journey of healing individually and as one. The night glowed above them, alive with promise and the magic of new beginnings. And perhaps, just perhaps, this time they could write a story filled with triumph, respect, and love that eclipsed everything else, a chapter they would grow into together. Now, it's your turn. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire and uplift. Leave a like right now to fuel the algorithm and spread this message of transformation. I want to hear from you. Comment your feelings about this ending, what resonates with your heart, and don't wait not even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this profound journey. Together, we can create a community that believes in the power of healing and support. Join us.